Welcome to the Creative Hunter podcast. I'm your host, Logan Romney. This is episode 3, and today we're going to be talking all about cam gear that I take in the field when I'm filming and photographing hunts. First of all, we got to thank one of our show supporters, Alpen Fuel. They make breakfast granolas and they make trail cookies, a bunch of different flavors, and they're really clean ingredients. They're probably one of my favorite things to eat on the mountain for breakfast. You just put water in them. You can do hot or cold. Mix it up. It's got granola and there's different flavors. If you go over to their website and use the code CHP20, you'll save 20% on any items in the store. So capital C, capital H, capital P, 20, and you'll save 20% on anything in the store. So go over there, check them out, give them some support. They're awesome and they're supporting us at the podcast, and they're really cool. Sean and Emily over there. Sean's the owner, and he's just awesome. So go check him out. So let's get into this. So first of all, we'll jump into camera bodies. That's kind of like the biggest thing that seems like most people are worried about is camera bodies and lenses. So for the camera bodies that I'm running, I have two. The main one I use is the Canon R5, and I've had it for probably about 2 years now. Just really awesome camera. It's withstanded a ton of stuff, and I put this thing through the ringer. Before this, I have the Canon R6, which I'm filming on right now, and I still use it as a second cam today. It's actually really awesome. Both of them will shoot like plenty of video that I need, and they both have really good photography capabilities. I'm not going to dive into the full capabilities of it, but for how small these are, for how light they are, for the the capabilities they have for photography and video, I love them. Um, I take these things everywhere I go on any hunt, just because I always have to have a camera with me, and this is what I film with the whole time. These have been like up. Both of these have been up to Canada. They've been Alaska, Mexico, all across the Western United States on hunts, and these are what I take with me the whole time. I don't always take both camera bodies with me. Most of the time, if I'm filming my own hunts, I'm only going to take one, and I'm pretty confident in myself and my abilities to not like break a camera while I'm on the mountain. So I just bring one. If I'm filming though for a brand or a TV show or a company, and I need to really be on my toes and really capture the content, I'll take both camera bodies and I'll have them both mounted on my backpack. That way I can have different lenses on each one. I can use one for video, one for photos or something, or whatever the situation calls for. I can be ready with both camera bodies. But most of the time, I only need one. And even when I'm on a lot of bigger shoots, sometimes I'm only going to have one out, ready to go. The other one might just be either back at camp or in my backpack as a backup camera. And I may not always have both of them out. Just depends on the situation. But having two camera bodies is awesome when you're trying to get a variety of content. Um, but if you're just filming yourself or you're just getting into it, one body is totally plenty. I know a lot of guys that just run one body. I know a lot of guys that run multiple bodies like all the time, no matter what. So it's kind of just depends on what you want and what you want to get out of your um, your experience out there. So let's talk about lenses. The lens that I have on this R5 right now is the 24 to 105, and it's a f4 lens. And honestly, this is the most used lens that I use all the time. It's pretty much always on a camera. I use it for video. I use it for photos. The low light of this lens, it's a f4, so it's not as good as say like a f2.8 or lower, but it gets the job done, especially for video. Because with that 24 to 105, you have a really wide range of focal length there. So for archery hunts and even for rifle hunts, it's like one of my favorite lenses to use. I know a lot of people who use similar focal lengths of lenses or the same one. Um, So this lens is pretty much always out, always with me. The other lenses that I'm using, um, the Nifty 50, so the 50 mil 1.8 is what this one is. Like super tiny, super light. It's pretty much always in my pack. I don't always break it out, but it's probably one of the better lenses that you can get, especially as a beginner, because this is like a $300 or $400 lens. Like it's super cheap, whereas most of the other lenses are pretty expensive. So a 50, 1.8 or somewhere around there is a really good lens to have. I use it all the time. I use to take it with me. It's plastic. It's not like a nice like metal case lens, but it's really durable, and it just goes in anywhere in your pack. Um, when I'm doing bigger, like more cinematic focus shoots, there's a couple lenses I'm going to bring with me. They're a little heavier, so I don't really bring them normally on a regular backpack hunt. But this is an 85 Canon. It's a 1.2, so it's super low aperture, lets in a lot of light. Um, and it's a little bit different mount. So it's an old style mount. It's an EF mount, whereas the cameras I'm running right now are RF mounts. So you have to have an adapter, which I have a couple of them, and they work fine. But I have this 85. I also have a 50 millimeter 1.2. That's an EF lens, and both of these I use quite often because I really like the way they look, especially for photos. This 85 is just killer for photos with that low aperture. Um, but they're not always with me. If I'm filming myself, I'm probably not bringing them. If I'm gonna film other people, they're definitely at least on the packing list. And if they make it in the pack or not, that just depends on the style of hunt. Um, for long lenses, this is the 100 to 400. It is an f 4.5 to 5.6. Um, this is also an EF lens, so it's the old style mount, but you can see I have this EF to RF adapter on here if you're watching on YouTube, and you can just throw this on the camera. Now this is a heavier lens, but it is a zoom lens, so it is really nice, and it has I have this. It's made by iShoe, but it's tripod plate that actually goes onto the stock mount of the camera. Um, if you have this lens or you've looked at it, you kind of see how it's different with the tripod mount, and it's an Arca Swiss plate on the bottom. Just saves a little bit of weight and some space having this mount rather than having the stock um, L mount here and then putting a plate on the bottom of it. So anyways, this is another lens that like I'm not gonna take all the time because it is pretty big and it is a zoom lens, so it's really nice if you're trying to film wildlife. That's maybe within 100 yards to 600 yards you might get out of it. Anything farther than that, you're probably not gonna really reach it very easily with this lens. A 400 millimeter lens really isn't. It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot when you use it for some things. But when you're trying to film wildlife a long ways, 400 is not that much. Um, so instead of packing this around, I just pack around what any hunter would pack around, and I bring the spotting scope with the MagView adapter. So when I'm doing hunts, my own hunts, or even filming other people's hunts, a lot of the times I'm bringing the spotting scope with the MagView, and if I'm filming animals a long ways away, I'm using my cell phone on the MagView adapter. So it's really easy. You just have your phone, and it just magnets to the top, just like that. Like it's the easiest thing. Um, and you can film through it just like that. And it's kind of nice because it does double as kind of a cover for the end of your spotting scope, so you don't have to have a cover there. I've got like a makeshift like darn tough sock that I burnt a hole in that I cut and used as my cover for this. This is the Swaro ATX. It's got the 65 mil objective lens on here right now, and then I just have a little Arca Swiss plate on the bottom. So this comes with me everywhere if I'm hunting for myself or if I'm filming other people, just because of the versatility in this. And I can get really tight shots on animals a long ways away. I mean, even up to like over a mile, 2 miles, and you can actually just you can see even with just phone footage, you can really get some good footage of animals that far away. And even kill shots through this. I'll film through my on my phone. I'll set this up on the animal, and then I'll have my other camera, like this will be on the tripod. The spotter will be on the tripod with my phone filming. I'll have my other camera filming the shooter as they're taking the shot, and it works pretty good. And then when I'm solo hunting and I'm filming my own hunts, I do the same thing. I'll set my big camera up, filming me shooting, and I'll set my spotter on the tripod with my phone, filming the shot, filming the animal. Some people that especially some other people that I hunt with, um, like Hunter McWaters, like he'll bring this huge, I think it's like a 200 to 600 lens for his cameras to film a long ways away. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certain times when that, like, if you're trying to get really good quality footage of animals a long ways, it's freaking awesome because you can actually get really good footage, but it's so big and heavy. Like this 1 into 400 is bigger, it's heavier than my spotter. So if I'm gonna be packing a spotter and this lens around, it's just like twice as much. So the 600 lens is even bigger, it's even heavier. And to me personally, it's not worth the extra weight. Now to someone to Hunter, he prefers to have that quality of video shooting a long ways with the camera, and that's just his style and how he does it. So there's nothing wrong with it at all. Um, but I'm gonna go lighter personally, and I can still get really good video long ways through the spotter. Um, so we'll move on now. Uh, ND filters are probably one of the most important things to make your videos like actually look professional. You don't need them, but if you're not familiar with what they are, it's basically sunglasses for your camera. Um, and real quickly, I hope this makes sense because it is kind of a lot. If you've never heard of an ND filter, you should go look it up and watch some videos about it because they could do a lot better explaining what they are faster. But when you have your camera and you go down to a lower f-stop, say you have a f4 or f2.8 and you're filming, it lets a ton of light in. And when you're filming, you want your shutter speed to be twice as much as your frames per second. So if you're shooting in 24 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to be around 50. And if your shutter speed's at 50 and your f-stop is at 2.8, you're letting in tons of light. And the only way to fix that is to up the f-stop a little higher to maybe like f8 or f10, or to get an ND filter. And so an ND filter just acts as basically, like I said, sunglasses for your camera, and it lets less light in, so you can have the camera settings when you're videoing right where you want them, like 50 shutter speed at 50, f2.8, and that it's going to look really good, and you can keep that shallow depth of field without compromising. The ones I run, these are variable ND filters by Polar Pro. So as you twist them, they get darker and lighter. Um, Most of the time, I'm running this 2 to 5 stop ND filter, and it screws right on just the end of your lens. Um, so most of the time, I'm running the 2 to 5 stop because I feel like most of the time when I'm hunting, I don't need anything more than that, especially with this f4 lens. If I had an f2.8 lens, or when I'm running the f1.8, like the 85 and the 50 mil lens, I'm definitely using a little bit stronger ND filter, like the 6 to 9. I have both of them, but this Polar Pro Peter McKinnon edition variable ND filter is money right here, and they came out with some new ones recently, so you can go check them out if you need an ND filter. These Polar Pros are awesome. They're a little expensive, but personally, I think they're worth it. This thing's lasted me a long time. I'm about due for a new one because it's getting pretty scratched up, but um, I'm really enjoying how this is. Um, SD cards and storage. So what I use for that is I have this little, I don't even remember where I got it. I probably got it at like B&H Photo or Amazon, but it's just a Rugard SD card case. And my camera takes SD cards and CF Express cards. So this inside here, you can see if you're looking on the video, It has a CF Express card side and an SD card side, and then underneath the SD cards, you can put a micro SD card for like GoPros and stuff. So this is what I'm using. I'm mostly shooting when I shoot on the R5. I'm mostly using the CF Express card. So I've got all these loaded up. I have an extra one here, and I think I actually have one in my camera too. So I'll just have these in here, and it's waterproof, so I don't have to worry about it. I just slip it like somewhere in my pack and get to it super quick, maybe in a hip belt or the lid, and it's always ready to go. That way, if I run out of storage, if I forget to change an SD card, I know how to do it. I know how to get it really fast and change it. Um, most of my SD cards are 128 gigabytes. I do have a few 256 gigabytes. Um, you can go bigger. I have like a 500 gig SD card that I use kind of as a backup if I need it. I'll just like have it in and then shoot on the CF Express cards. And if one of the CF Express runs out, it automatically switches to the 500 gig SD. Um, but usually I'm shooting on the 256, and then once those are full, I'll switch to the 128s, finish out on those. But really, so I have three 128s and two 256 CF Express cards. Um, that easily lasts a hunt. I'm not going to add it up right now because I that's too much math for me right now. But that's a lot of gigabytes for a film, especially for a solo film. And I don't really find myself needing more than that hardly ever. If I do, I have a couple SD cards as backup in case I do go over. But that's what I'm running. And then I'll also bring some GoPros with me every once in a while. So I have the micro SD cards in the GoPro, running in the GoPro. Also the drone, the micro SD cards for the drone as well. Um, I don't have the drone or my GoPros out right now, but I have the DJI Mini 2 drone. I would say it's a little outdated. It's really not that old, but for what's out now, it's kind of crazy, like the technology that they come out with in like the last 2 or 3 years. Um, so that DJI Mini 2 is like a little bit getting outdated, but it still shoots 4K video. Um, really awesome. It's tiny. I don't take it usually on backpack hunts just because I don't need to. And a lot of areas that I go backpacking in, like I'm not gonna fly a drone around because it could kind of show off some of the country I'm in. But I love using the drone because drone footage is like looks really good in video. For GoPros, I have the Hero 9. I don't remember exactly. I think it's just the Hero 9 GoPro, and I'll take it on all my hunts. It'll be usually I'll use it if I'm shooting. I'll set it up as a second camera on the shooter. I'll use it to take time lapses because GoPros do really easy time lapses of like clouds going by or something. And I'll also use it if I'm stalking animals. I'll either clip it on my hat or I have a head strap mount. So I'll strap it to my head if I'm stalking for an archery hunt. GoPros are really cool. You can get some cool perspectives with them. I don't have a 360 camera, but I really want to get one because a 360 cam would be cool to have like on your sticking out the side of your gun or on your bow or even on your head when you're stalking. To have that 360 view, you can kind of like control what you want the audience to see when you're editing. Um, but I haven't got one yet. That's on the list someday to get one of those 360 cams because they'd be cool. For microphones, I am running this Rode NTG shotgun mic. I have this dead cat windscreen on it that just pops off super easy. And essentially, what this is, it's kind of a cross between a studio mic and a shotgun mic that Rode makes. I love it, and I've been using it for a long time. It has some cool features. Some of them I don't even like know how to use, but I don't really feel like I need those features. But essentially, the biggest thing that I use is on the back. There's a dial here that you can adjust the output of the mic. So if you're in a situation and you need to if you need more sound, you just crank that up. If someone's whispering and you're like sneaking in on an animal, or if they just shot an animal and they're all excited, crank it down a little bit. That way you just get your audio right. Audio in video is like the most important part. It's kind of the most like boring part sometimes. Like you don't really want to be worrying about audio when you're trying to capture a moment, but it makes a huge difference if you can nail audio. So audio is a big one. This mic really is a pretty good quality mic, especially for something as lightweight as this that you can take in the mountains. Um, and make sure you have one of these like dead cat windscreens, just because it's always like it's almost always gonna be windy in the mountains, so it makes a big difference. I also always pack, just a tip is I always pack an extra little auxiliary cord from my mic to my camera, just in case this one breaks. If my mic falls off and the cord breaks, it's never happened to me, but I don't want to break that and not have an extra. So always have that. The other thing about this mic that's really nice is it's rechargeable with USB-C. So whenever I'm on a backpack trip for a week, I probably recharge it once, if that, maybe twice, depending on how much I'm using the mic. And it lasts a long time and it's really great. The other thing that can help with your audio that I don't take on most backpack hunts, but I'll take it if we're doing like truck hunts, is just a pair of headphones. So that way you can just listen to the audio while you're videoing. You can really just hear what the camera's picking up. I would love to find a cool set of headphones that's light enough, that's durable enough that I can take on backpack hunts. It just hasn't been a huge priority for me yet. There's a couple of headphones that I know of that I might invest in someday to start taking on backpack hunts. But when I'm filming my own hunts, I'm not really monitoring audio while I'm filming. But if I'm filming other people's hunts, I almost always will, because um, you don't want mic malfunction or some loud noises, or your mic to be too loud or too quiet. When you're filming and someone's paying you, you want to make sure that audio is really good. So headphones is a good idea to have if you're trying to get good audio. So we'll talk about batteries real quick. Kind of my system for batteries. I usually will take about 1.5 to 2 batteries a day on a trip. So right now I'm leaving on a 7-day bear hunt in 2 days. So I have 12 batteries I'm taking. Um, I'm charging them right now, and what I'll do is I'll put them in this little FHF gear pouch with has like some orange sides on it. And I know in this pouch this is all of my fully charged batteries. So that way, if I run out of batteries and I don't have an extra one laying around, I just need to find this FHF bag with the orange sides on it, and I know that's where my batteries are at. Once they're dead, I throw them in just this little dry bag. I think this is made by EXO. It's one of their stash pouches. I have a few of them. And once they're dead, I'll put them in here. That way I know, okay, these batteries in this bag are dead. All the batteries in my pouch here, this FHF pouch, they're all still charged. And I'll usually have a battery or two in like my pocket, just in case one does run out when I'm filming. I don't have time to grab one out of my backpack real quick. I have one in my pocket. I can swap it out super fast. That's mostly it for batteries. I really don't take any chargers or anything with me on backpack hunts. Um, I've I've just relied on bringing enough batteries to last. I honestly haven't found like a good charger or power bank that works to charge camera batteries, because they do use a lot of juice to charge. They're pretty powerful batteries for how small they are. So um, there are some power banks you can get that will charge your cameras and the camera batteries. There's some different types of little battery chargers that you can bring, but I don't really rely on them because they can be finicky sometimes, and sometimes you just don't have the power that you need to charge cameras when you're out there. If it's not sunny, you don't have a solar panel or something like that. A couple, let's see. Oh, the other thing that's really important that I use, and I know a lot of people use when I'm carrying my cameras with me. and I'm on a hunt, you always want that camera to be accessible. You don't want it in your pack like zipped up, because if a moment happens, you won't have enough time to take your pack off and take that picture or that video. Um, you always want it accessible. So I use this cotton carrier. It's the strap shot. There's a couple different products that Cotton Carrier makes, but basically what this is has a Velcro, and it just straps around the my backpack strap that comes over my chest. And on the bottom of my camera, I have this mount, so it'll slide into that cotton carrier and twists, and it locks in there. So this is on my shoulder strap, and it's locked in. I just twist it and pull it up, and my camera's out and ready to use. Um, Really slick design that doesn't really get clogged up. I know some of the other ones will get frozen or clogged up. Occasionally, I'll get if you get snow inside of here, it'll ice up and it'll be kind of difficult to get the camera in and out of. But you just got to be cognizant of it and aware. Um, what's also nice about the bottom of the camera with this mount for the cotton carrier, they also make a little adapter, so you have an Arca Swiss plate, um, as well as the mount for the cotton carrier strap on the camera. So I'll use this plate for mounting on a tripod right here, and it's built on. And then I always have the cotton carrier, this little circle adapter on here. So I don't have to switch it out if I want to use my tripod. I don't have to unscrew anything and screw a plate on. It's just always on here. Really nice feature from Cotton Carrier. It only comes with the, the regular mount when you buy one, but you can buy this extra plate separately, so you can have the Arca Swiss plate and the mount together. Um, when I am when I'm filming hunts that are usually from the truck or maybe short backpack hunts, I'll usually bring a couple of things. I have this camera cage. This is from Small Rig, and it fits my R5 and it fits the R6, so it'll fit both of them in here. Um, it helps protect, but the biggest thing is it has this top handle. So if I'm trying to get really steady shots, I love this top handle. I use it all the time. So I'll have a top handle. I'll hold the top handle and hold the front of my lens, and I'll get the shot that I want. I can also mount on here this camera monitor, or this on camera monitor. So essentially, what this is like it's just a bigger screen for my camera. So it's just like it's the same thing as the screen, the little screen on the flip out screen on the camera, but this one is just bigger, and the battery on here, this lasts a long time. There's a lot of different kinds of these monitors. The reason I went with this one, it's pretty cheap. It's plastic, so it's really light. It's not, of course, it's not as durable. One of these batteries will easily last 8 to 10 hours, no problem, and I can just charge them if I'm truck camping or am in a hotel or whatever the situation is. This is kind of newer for me. I've taken on a couple hunts and I've really liked it, and so I'm gonna keep doing it. I probably won't have it on very many backpack hunts specifically, but who knows? I might start doing it. And so with this cage, I can just mount this um, monitor right there. It's really nice. Um, but like I said, that's not on every hunt, just because of the weight hit that it takes. I'm not gonna take that on this bear hunt I'm going on next week, because we're backpacking the whole time, and it's just not worth it for me to have it. But let's talk about real quick. Last thing that I want to go over is the tripod that I'm running. This is the Sarui. This is the T024SK tripod, and I have a different head on this tripod than the stock one that comes with it. This is a Leofoto LH40, so 40 millimeter ball head with the Arca Swiss mount right here. So I use this to glass off of. I use this for my camera. I use it for anything that requires a tripod. Um, I could stand up with this. It goes tall enough. It's actually really light. and it's pretty thin. Now it's not going to be like as sturdy as some of the other bigger tripods on the market, but to me personally, the sturdiness like it doesn't matter as much because I'm using this to glass off of, and usually I'm sitting down. So if I'm sitting down, it's really sturdy. It only gets less sturdy when I'm standing up or I put a ton of weight on it. And the spotting scope I'm using is not a ton of weight. If my camera's not a lot of weight, I don't shoot off tripods like some people do with a rifle. This tripod, it get the job done, but it's probably not the best one to shoot off of if that's what you were planning on doing with the tripod. Um, it's just lightweight. It lasts good. It's durable. I've used it for probably 3 years now, 2.5 years probably, and I loved it. I didn't like the head that came with it. Um, it's like a fluid head that Cerui makes. Didn't love it. It's not bad, but I didn't love it, so I got this ball head and stitch because it's better for cameras, um, and I like it for glassing. So that's pretty much all that I bring. I think I've covered everything that I take for as far as camera equipment on a hunt. If you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. You can find me on Instagram and DM me. Always happy to help out and answer any questions you guys have. We got a podcast coming up next week with Riley Seaholzer. He just got done last year. He hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. Super cool. Like if you've never heard the PCT, it's a trail from Mexico to Canada. It's over 2,000 miles, and he did it last summer. He kind of tells us about the story about it. He's just a good hunting buddy of mine. We've known each other for a couple years. Um, and Next week, when this podcast is released, I'm gonna be on a bear hunt. Um, and it's a week-long bear hunt. Me and Jamin Davis are heading out there. We have a couple sponsors. We're filming the hunt, so we have a couple sponsors helping us out. We have Grakksaw. They sent us some game bags and some boot dryers. Wilderness Athlete. They sent us a ton of stuff, a bunch of um, Hydrate and Recover, some Energy and Focus, the Slumber, a bunch of the Hero packets, some of their pack out bars. And I've tried a couple of them so far, and honestly, I love them. So really excited to be working with Wilderness Athlete on this hunt coming up. Also, Hardside Hydration, of course. I've worked with them a ton in the last few years, and they've got their hydration systems. We're running those. They're sponsoring the film, helping us get out there. Um, and we're just gonna have a good time. Go out there, see how many bears we can kill. I have 2 tags. Jamin, I think we'll have 2 tags, um, and it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna film it. The film will be released in a couple months, just because got to edit it and all that fun stuff. But I'm sure we'll get some clips and show them on Instagram on some reels and stuff. So watch for that bear hunt coming up here in a few months. It's going to be fun. So I'll also do a podcast with um, Jamin while we're out there after the hunt and kind of do a recap of everything and we'll just see how the hunt goes. So it's going to be a good time. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and follow if you're on Spotify. Follow the podcast if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe down below. Like the video, and we will see you guys next week.